the main reason that we're here, our dear children and young adults, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted that you could all make some time out of your schedules to be here with us to discuss an issue which touches on everyone who has a child, a sibling, or is related to some young adults, the safety of our children online. I'm particularly grateful to UNICEF, the Canadian Embassy, Global Kids Online, who collaborated with the Ministry of Communications in conducting this research, which will be, the report of which will be launching shortly, on the risks and opportunities related to children's online practices. It is difficult to make policies based on anecdotal evidence. And so you need the facts and the figures and the real statistics to support what we may sense is the problem. The internet is a significant tool for children's education, creativity, and self-expression, as well as for the development of their identity and social skills. However, as we have seen from the various sketches that have been shown and the speeches that have come prior to mine, children online are also vulnerable and exposed to risks associated with their internet usage. So while encouraging them to use the internet, we also have a responsibility to protect them against the risks that they face online. Because increasingly, more and more children are using the internet at an early age, and we are encouraging them to use the internet as a tool for instruction. And so we need to identify and address those risks as an important public policy imperative. While the internet knows no boundaries, and our efforts to protect children must extend to regional and international cooperations, protecting children online must, however, not hinder either the inherent freedom of the internet or the capacity of young people to take advantage of the opportunities given them for learning, research, communications, and entertainment. The challenge is how to strike the right balance. How do we mitigate the risks without reducing children's opportunities and benefits? How do we prevent these risks while preserving fundamental values such as freedom of speech and the right to privacy for all internet users, including our children? I urge all of us gathered here today to do our very best to help safeguard this generation of young ones from the risks associated with the abuse of the internet, while respecting their constitutional rights. We know the internet permeates every aspect of the economy and society, and it is also becoming an essential element of our children's lives. In fact, we're even thinking of promoting the use of simple tablets at the kindergarten phase to demystify the internet and computers and make it become an everyday tool for the children as they play, learn, and work. While the internet can bring considerable risks for the education and development, online risks such as access to inappropriate content, example, child pornography, flirtatious and threatening messages. And I have a real-life practical example of that. Many years ago, about 10 years ago, I was the head of one of the mobile network operators, telecoms companies in the country. And I had a niece spending some time with me during the holidays. So I came home from work one day. I've used this example previously, but it still brings home the reality of the dangers that our kids are exposed to in a graphic way. I came home from work one day, all the children were in the study on various devices. But as soon as my niece saw me, she shut the laptop she was using. So I was like, what are you reading on the internet? No, it's nothing. She went, and that made me instantly suspicious. So I said, I want to see what you were looking at. And when I took the laptop from her and opened it, she was on a pornography site with very, very graphic images of porn and genitalia on it. And she couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 years old at the time. So while we're away at work, do we know which sites our children are browsing in? What information they are imbibing? And children have impressionable minds, and they believe a lot of these things they see. And they may be susceptible to peer pressure as well. And so their colleagues may encourage them, have you seen this thing? It's very nice. And so let me see. And then they would also look at it. And it may be inappropriate content, which may be exposing them to threatening messages, child pornography, flirtatious material as well. They may also expose to harmful interactions with other children or with adults, such as cyberbullying, cyberstalking, sextortion, game addiction, etc. And some of the games that our kids are addicted to are scary and violent and demonic and you name it, but it's fun. And so they're playing those games, and you never know what that may lead them to. There have been reports of children who have been committing suicide in other parts of the world because of certain games that they've been playing, which encourage them to take their lives as part of a challenge. And so they also take that challenge and unwittingly lose their lives or harm themselves. There's also exposure to online marketing content which is not meant for children, example, sex toys. The 2010 census of Ghana report recorded about 9.9% of young persons aged between 12 to 19 have access to mobile phones. We can treble that figure because within that, between 2010 and now, a lot more children have access to mobile phones than there were. A 2007 study carried out by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection on the use of the internet by school children in the Accra metropolis also indicated that children sometimes use the internet for harmful purposes, as I've indicated, such as pornography, violent materials, and fraud. According to this study, 14% of children indicated that they have used the internet for pornographic purposes. We have more recent statistics in the UNICEF report that we're about to launch now, but it just illustrates that it is not a new phenomenon, that as children use the internet, they are exposed to all these dangers and temptations out there. While it provides, I'll indicate that while it provides a variety of opportunities for learning, recreation, play, and socialization, there are some very real risks out there that they need protection from. It's also a global concern. It is not just a Ghanaian or African phenomenon, but it is happening all over the world, because some people less than very antisocial elements are using the internet as a conduit to generate income from the unsavory content that they share online. And I'm sure you saw this clip earlier on. Children watching cartoons have adverts popping out at them to entice them to browse certain sites which would lead them to unsavory content. They're watching cartoons. They're just enjoying themselves and entertaining themselves online. But unscrupulous people are using access to those sites to also engage our children in very wrong conduct. The report by UNICEF provides information on the state of our children and the way they use the internet. Government has made certain efforts to protect children from cyber threats and attacks, and this has led to the development of the National Child Online Protection Framework, which is targeted at protecting children and young persons up to 21 years of age from online abuse. Takes cognizance of the developmental stages of children and young persons as they access content and interact with people on the internet. We are conducting a review of the National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy, and as part of that, the Child Online Protection Framework and Policy would also be looked at as well, because there have been developments since then which we need to also address. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child has also taken some measures, including advisory campaigns to parents, guardians, teachers, and cooperation with internet service providers in order to protect children from being exposed to harmful materials online. Let's all note that the exposure of our children to harmful materials is a criminal offense in Ghana. We keep making this appeal that whenever anybody sends you graphic images of children in uncompromising positions, please do not pass it on. Don't forward it. Don't post it. Delete it from your device. Because even retaining that content on your device may lead you, may expose you to some criminal liability. And posting it and circulating those images are not right. So you may think you're letting people within your platform or space about what is out there, but you're unwittingly exposing the children to greater dangers by continually forwarding and posting, reposting those devices, those images. And mind you, you cannot say you received it from somebody when you are found culpable. You are the one who has that image on your device. So you are the one who will be held responsible and for whom all liabilities will fall. So whenever anybody posts any such image of children in various stages of undress or in very distasteful conditions, delete it and inform whoever sent it to you to stop forwarding it and to delete it from their device as well, so that we do not further expose our children to threats. Our Constitution guarantees the right to information and further protects children from physical and moral hazards in Article 28(1)(d), while Section 6(3)(a) of the Children's Act stipulates that parents are to protect the child from neglect, discrimination, violence, abuse, exposure to physical and moral hazards, and oppressions. In spite of these legislation, children and young adults are still exposed to online risks and need to be protected from the dangers that we've enumerated earlier. The physical and social protection of children from violence are provided for in various pieces of legislation. However, many of these existing policies and laws do not make adequate provision for the protection of children online. And our Attorney General mentioned some of these pieces of legislation. Several ministries, departments, and agencies also tasked with the responsibility of protecting children include the Child Online Protection Unit of the Ministry of Communications, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, which has a domestic violence, human trafficking, and secretariats and Department of Children, the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Services, the Ministry of Interior, the Attorney General herself, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, the Ministry of Health, and local government. They're all trying in their own small way to protect our children. But But if we coordinate and collaborate more efficiently and effectively, we'll be better able to protect our children from harm. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, research is critical to understand the nature and extent of the problem. UNICEF has supported a national research on the risks and opportunities related to child online practices in Ghana. Its aim was to gather evidence on children's access to usage, user habits, risks and opportunities related to online media amongst children aged 9 to 17 in order to inform policy and program intervention. The findings and recommendations will be utilized to build a safer digital Ghana for all, particularly our children. In conclusion, I wish to emphasize that children and young people are great assets to the country, and our government will do all it can to secure their future by putting in place the measures that will address and protect them from any form of cybercrime and threats. The government is aware of these dangers and the socioeconomic implications of cybercrime on our kids, the offensive, harmful, and illegal content they are exposed to, and the dangers out there. We will create a safe internet and online experience for all our children and facilitate the creation and implementation of policies on internet usage and any ICT tool, device, or platform that may be used to commit cybercrime against children and young persons. And any person using them for that purpose will also be subjected to the full rigors of the law. Thank you. It is our very pleasant duty to declare this report on the risks and opportunities related to children's online practices. Ghana Country Report, December 2017, launched.